And welcome back to the Sooner Surge. And today I'm going to be giving my SEC schedule prediction. So if you haven't already, please be sure to go watch our interview with Ross Dellinger of SportsIllustrated.com yesterday. Ross was the guy who broke the SEC news, the story that OU and Texas are going to be going a year early in 2024. So he's been really busy. Gathering all the facts of the situation. He's been working really hard to put out a really good story, and he did so. So it's really important. First off, if you watch that to understand what I'm talking about on this, of there's gonna be obviously the SEC schedule is going to be very different. It's not going to be the same old divisions. No, that's probably not going to happen. There's all the talks before of pods. That talk has kind of died down because of how do you go about it? Because before you'd be a pod champion, just all of that. It's a little bit too much. I don't think the SEC wants to have like a mini playoff, to say the least. So what's being talked about now is a 3-6 method. So you get three permanent opponents and six opponents that change every year. So you within 2 years you will play every team in the conference. Within 4 years you'll play every team in the conference at your place and at their place. So really there can't be a much better situation. I'm a little upset on it on no divisions. Again, it's just how do you go about it? It's really as long as the schedules are balanced, and that's where this prediction comes into play, is getting balanced schedules, because that's what matters. You don't want Georgia to have a cakewalk of the schedule like they had really last year, and then a team like Bama that lost a game and had a really tough schedule, so they don't get to play in the SEC championship because of it, or whatever it may be. You don't want that to happen. SEC does not want that to happen, especially Greg Sankey does not want that to happen, as well as all the universities involved. So something has to give. And what Ross Dellinger is talking about is this 8-8 format where you split the league into two. So you'll have a top half of the league and a bottom half of the league. And really, how you would do that is by revenue and by blue blood status. Really, like, is this team historic? Are they considered a college football blue blood? SEC, all the schools are good, but to be honest, there's a few schools in the SEC that, in football at least, for sure, are not that good. So they shouldn't have to be stuck playing really good teams constantly, and vice versa. Really good teams should not be stuck playing these not good teams every single year. You got to keep it fair. So this method, blue bloods on top. So in the top tier of this proposed conference schedule, it would be Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, LSU, Florida, Texas, and Texas A&M. So one big school left out, but 8-8. There's that cutoff at 8 to 9. So, and Sankey has to, it's like babysitting kindergartners. Got to make everyone as happy as possible. So A&M would throw a fit if they're not in there. So Auburn gets the pooch. But again, that is for a reason, and I'll get to it in a minute. And then in this bottom tier, you got Auburn, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mizzou, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. So Auburn left off, but that's for a reason, and I'll get into it right now. So first school up, Bama. Their three opponents every year will be LSU, Tennessee, and then their non-blue blood opponent will be Auburn. That is why, if you put the label on it, Bama can't get too upset saying, hey, this isn't fair. We're playing three blue bloods while everyone else is only playing two, or, they would not be happy with that. So you got to do it like that. Anyhow, to Georgia. Their blue bloods are Tennessee and Florida, and then their non-blue blood is a rising South Carolina team. So good schedule for Georgia there. Going to be really good games, really, for sure. Honestly, I think two of them are going to be good games, and really good possibility that all three are for the foreseeable future. And next up, that brings me to Tennessee. So Tennessee, They got Georgia, mentioned that before, and they also got Alabama. So two rivals. Got to see Tennessee playing those teams every year. They're pretty much doing that in the SEC, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to carry over. And then their non-blue blood opponent is Vanderbilt, I guess in-state rival. If that's a rivalry where Tennessee just kicks the snot out of them for 60 minutes, I mean that's cool. I guess just gotta for them balance that out as well, and that makes sense for both sides there. And to the first new school of the conference, Oklahoma. So Oklahoma, them and Texas are kind of at an advantage on this situation of their permanent opponents are going to be one neutral site, one home game, one away game every year. That's not going to waver because OU and Texas plays at the Cotton Bowl every single year. So OU will have Texas on the schedule uh, in October, State Fair of Texas, every year, Cotton Bowl, Dallas, Texas, mark it down. Uh, the only interesting thing on that is what time is the game going to be? It's historically been an 11 o'clock game, and then you see with the SEC, the big time rivalry matchups, all that tend to be 2:30 slots. So that's interesting decision for sure from uh, SEC and ESPN on deciding what time they're going to play that game. And for Oklahoma, you also have Florida on that schedule. So some people consider that a wild card. It is what it is, really. I would like A&M on the schedule, but A&M's already going to give a headache over playing Texas every year. They would throw a massive hissy fit if they also had to play Oklahoma every year. And then, to no surprise for Oklahoma, their non-blue blood opponent is Mizzou. Greg Sankey has made it pretty obvious that he wants to renew that rivalry. They're former conference foes in the Big 12, so those teams playing every year, it's cool. I mean, I have no problem with it. Do not like Missouri fans at all. So, and I think it's going to be pretty much a win every single year. So that's nice for sure. But it would be nice to play Arkansas there. The closest team, really. I think for Oklahoma, that is completely the closest team. I guess you could count Texas as being closer, maybe, but really they're not. It's just in distance to where the game's played. Dallas is about 3.5 to 4 hours ish from Norman's, and I think Fayetteville's like 4 hours. So it's still, it sucks. It's not going to happen, but it is a team. Again, you're going to play that team at once every other year, so you can't get too upset on it. Really, you're still going to play them at some point. So Florida, they're going to play Georgia, Florida line game, Florida Georgia line, whatever you want to call it. They are going to play every single year, 2:30 on ESPN. And then they also, as I said earlier, have Oklahoma on that schedule as well as Kentucky. And for LSU, they got Bama rivalry game. That's a given. That's a known. That's their biggest rival. They're going to play them every single year. And they also have a new opponent, or I mean, a new rival to say. They've been playing Texas A&M lately on rivalry week. A&M's only been in the conference for what, 10 years now? But there've been good matchups. They've been entertaining for sure. So that will be a good matchup every year for those two schools. And then LSU also has Ole Miss on their schedule. So LSU, Bama, A&M, Ole Miss, Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, Kentucky, and that brings me to Texas. Texas, they got OU, they got A&M, and they got Arkansas. Again, Sankey very much passionate about the old Southwestern Conference being a quarter of it, or quarter of the SEC is the old Southwest Conference, something like that. So he's going to really love to have Arkansas and Texas play yearly. They played a couple years ago. Those were good games when they did play non-conference matchups. So to have them every single year, going to be fun games for sure, especially if you're not a fan of either team. So really just to tune in and see a good football game. Who says no to that? And A&M, Texas, LSU, and then their non-blue blood opponent is Mississippi State. So that rounds out the blue blood category of this list. And that brings me to the first, I guess you could say, non blue blood, is what I'm going to call it, uh, on this list, and that is Auburn. So Auburn's going to play Bama as their blue blood opponent, and then they're going to play Mississippi State and Arkansas as their opponents from the same tier. So good schedule for Auburn for sure. Still get the Iron Bowl every year. You also get a couple other SEC West schools every year. Really can't see them being too upset over it. You could get thrown in that top tier and have to play like a LSU or Georgia or something like that, and you only have to play one big dog. I see that as a win. I don't know if there's any Auburn fans watching this. Let me know what you think of that. If you think that's a win or not, just let me know down below in the comments. And Arkansas, they got Mizzou, Auburn, and Texas. So again, Mizzou, close school to them. Auburn, another SEC West school, and then Texas, former Southwestern rival to say. So good schedule really for them. And that brings me to Kentucky. Kentucky has Vanderbilt and South Carolina as their same tier schools. And I really like what Kentucky's doing. Mark Stoops is really turning that program around. So they're an interesting team for sure in this bottom tier. Really, on they're on the rise. But what happens in this whole tier system is it's based on revenue, and it's based on just your like how you've been historically. So even though you could say they're better than some teams in that blue blood tier right now, yeah, but they're not a college football blue blood. That's what determines this. So they also get Florida as their blue blood opponent. That's what I was getting at on. That's pretty generous in my opinion there. So to Mizzou, you got Arkansas, Ole Miss, and OU. So Mizzou really keeping it SEC West. You get the Ole Miss game as well. You get OU. I wonder. I want to know what Mizzou fans think of that. Really, on going to be playing OU every year, if they're for it or not. I remember the last time they beat us, they stormed the field, took down the goalpost, all that. That was over 10 years ago now, because they've been out of the conference for about, I think, might be pretty much exactly 10 years now. So, yeah, that brings me to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is getting the Egg Bowl every year. Thanksgiving Day, they're going to play Mississippi State. No questions about it. They're also going to play Mizzou and LSU as their blue blood. So, Ole Miss, really, all SEC West schools. What did you expect there? Not really shocker. Uh, then Mississippi State, they're going to play at the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. They got Ole Miss, and they also have Auburn and then Texas A&M. So again, really for those tiers, kind of teams in like the middle of the pack, you can't complain about that type of a schedule. It's really just how do these remaining 6 games go for everyone? I would think it would be 3-3 or 2 from yours, 4 or 4, just something close to that, the close 50-50 split, as close as you can get really on ensuring that you're playing teams of the same status as you yearly, as well as teams that are either better or lower, just not a too unfairly balanced schedule. So that brings me to South Carolina, Kentucky, Vandy, and Georgia. I really like what South Carolina is doing with Shane Beamer and Spencer Rattler this past year. They had the consecutive top 10 wins, first time that's ever happened for them. And I think that was something. I can't remember if they're both unranked that week, those weeks or not. I know the first one they weren't. I mean, Tennessee looked really good, and then the Georgia loss happened, Hendon Hooker injury, and then, I mean, South Carolina still beat them by, I think, 28 points that game. That was a blowout win for the Gamecocks, and then they followed it up on rivalry week playing Clemson. So, yeah, to now have in my opinion, going to have Georgia on this. I think that's a blue blood upset possibility for them, and I would expect Beamer to get a few of them, to say the least. So, and last and not least, Vanderbilt. They got Kentucky and South Carolina, as well as Tennessee. So they got that in-state rival. Probably not going to beat them in anything. I guess if this stays the same across all sports, it would be good baseball series. But other than that, it's going to be pretty much Tennessee dominating for sure the football side of the thing. So that's really all I got here. Let me know if you disagree with anything really, on if you think I got anything wrong on these predictions. And as always, if you're not already, please subscribe and leave a like. Also, go follow us on Spotify. Subscribe there. Get our latest podcasts. If you don't want to watch necessarily just the video, you can just listen to us. And then if you're not already, please go follow us on Twitter at the Sooner Surge. And as always, thanks for listening. Boomer.